Brenda Butler and Doc Street. Can we have a round of applause for all of you? To these samples in the affected area.
That's all. I didn't want to do this. Listen, I didn't imagine 30 years ago that we'd be, two people would be interested in this, let alone all you people on a bank holiday weekend. I live in this country. My son's a Scouser, and I do it all again. And I can see by your faces, you weren't wasting your time. It's nice to see all the debunkers that never had the balls to show up here. It's even, really, they're not here. It's great to see the young people. There's two young guys there, and there's a little girl back there, because they are the future, and I'm a dad, and everything I did with this, with all the bad things that came and went, led me to my son. And, this might be a good thing I did all those years ago, or a bad thing, but I'm a damn good dad, and I'm real proud of that, and it all led me to him. And it's an honor, these heroes you're going to meet tonight. It's their first opportunity together to go through a profound thing, because it's a key to all this. And I got to say, they're heroes. And the Nicks here too, little Nicky Pope and Linda Howe and Peter there, and I'll get them after. And I've had my time. It's done a lot of damage to my family, a lot of friends and all that. It's taken a lot of time to repair it. And when it comes to the people that did bad things with us afterward, I didn't retire from the military. Loved my country. I went in for all the right reasons. When it comes to the people that did things to us after the fact, all I want is their addresses. I don't need an apology. But I'm not angry anymore. I'm a good place, short, fat, middle-aged. You'll get their kids, believe me. They're our future. You're all heroes for being here, too. It's an honor to be in the same room with these heroes. And thanks for coming on the ride for the last 30 years or so. God bless you.
To Linda Moulton Howe. Thank you very much.
It's wonderful to be, for the first time in my life and career, in Woodbridge, a place that I have been curious about and read about and heard about ever since Chuck DeCaro did the 5-part series on CNN in the United States back in 1984, which was the first in-depth television exposure that a lot of us had, and I knew Chuck at the time. And he told me that there was a rumor he was abducted twice at 3 a.m. on
What's the mother crime? Yeah, there's always the mother stuff. I can't.
Oh, thank you, people. Thanks a lot. It means a lot, though. Go ahead, John.
Okay, first of all, I know from what we've been told that a lot of you come a long way, okay? And about the 1st of November, I was contacted by Gordy here and asked that would we be interested in doing something like this. And at the time, the discussion was, yeah, sure, we'll be happy to do it. And he said, probably look at between 50 and 100 people. And they put okay? And the other thing that sets out to me is, I bet you tonight, this crowd is 50 to 60% people that know more about this incident than we do. and if you think about it, that's pretty amazing in itself, because of the fact that you guys have taken the time and effort not only to get here, but you're educated on what happened to us. And hopefully tonight there's been some more stuff added to this that will even maybe help clear up a few more things. But what Jim and I are going to do is we're going to talk for a couple minutes. Something that I'm not saying it's never been done, but what we've always found that when we've done and talked, and even one of the other things that stood out to me at the very beginning, about a year and a half ago, I wanted to do a reunion, and it didn't work out. It's hard to get over here, okay? So a lot of people weren't available or couldn't do it, whatever, but it ended up Jim and I were able to get back together and start talking about things and working on things. But what I've always noticed when you do these conferences, and I'm sure a lot of you did, usually you get informed on stuff, and very rarely do you get a chance to ask questions, okay? And to us, again, going back to that 50 to 60% people that might enlighten us a little bit tonight, we feel the opportunity should be that you have a chance to talk to us, not we talk to you. So what we're going to do here is he's got a couple things to say, then I got a couple things to say, and then we're going to start taking questions. And we'll take them as long as you want to ask.
Yep.
Okay? All right, go ahead, Woody.
Well, I want to thank you guys for the charity. Okay, we really appreciate it. Good cause. We also got, if you notice there's film coming, they're exclusive, yes. The profits that we have for this event here will go to charity too. So hopefully it's a lot of money, I'm hoping. I don't know.
2 grand at least.
What's that?
£2,000 already.
I'm going to tell you something that's son. Okay. This is an unknown fact. Everybody thinks like we talk all the time. And the night I talked to him 30 years ago, and when do you leave? June, the following June? July. We only started talking 9 months ago. He never talked about the incident until 9 months ago. Because it was geared that way. You know, we all had OSI involvement. We had our memories changed. This is a bizarre story. We went to the wrong locations on other documentaries. The question you got to ask is, why does someone want that to happen? Don't make no sense, does it? Why would they want to move the site 400 yards? Don't make any sense to us either, does it? And we also had earlier, what was it, Larry, I think he spoke. Larry's got some issues too from the incident. All of us do. We're going to try to answer what we can. And I think you want to give us some information on the land use side? Yeah. Go ahead, John.
Okay, first of all, I don't know how many of you have ever looked at my statement. One of the things with me is that this is the first time I've ever been back. Okay, I came back one other time in the early '90s and did a piece for Stranger's Crew, but I never got to come down here. It wasn't in the cards. But finally, after 30 years, I finally come back to the forest. And some of the questions that have been always presented to me is, where were we? And I've always been honest, I'm not sure. Because one of the things that we noticed when we went back out there and went over it for the next couple nights, if you look at some of the areas that they claim they think it is, it's really not physically possible to get where we went from here to here, especially based on our statements and where we were going. And one of the other interesting things is some of them have us way over here, but we came in over here. And one of the things that we did in training was, when we were following this, we went directly to the closest route to go in and follow it and kept going straight forward. We didn't zigzag all the way through the forest, go way over here, way over there, and everything else. And based on my statement, and going back out there, we've come to the conclusion we were definitely to the right of the farmer's house. There's a finger of land that I think Linda showed earlier that comes out there, which will explain how we got wet and even how Colonel Hawk claims he got wet. And when I say claims, he said he's gotten wet. And there's a crickets in there. There's a stream cricket marsh, a marsh, okay? So it would explain how we got wet. Okay, and even in my hypnosis, I kind of go around, how did we get wet? Well, there's an area right there that shows how we got wet. So the site itself was in the area to the right of the farmhouse, as best as we can determine. Okay? The next thing is as you can see with the hypnosis, it's been out for a few months, but it's never been out. You know, it's not been out that long, and I don't know if it's ever been shown over here. But I think if you look at the way we're talking underneath it, and people can question whether it's legit or not as far as were we led or anything else. But in my case, I was just asked to talk about what happened, and that's what came out. So that in itself is hard to explain, and it's hard to deal with as a person, because one of the things that's clear is I was out there twice. I was the only person that was out there on the first night, and I was out there on Colonel Hall's night, okay? And something strange happened to me both nights, okay? And we had said we're going to reveal some new evidence, okay? And here it comes, right? And it's going to be a big one. And it's strange how it has happened, but it's factual. It's there, and it happened in October. Through the fact that we were trying to do this and come over, and we wanted to come over here and do this and everything else, we got together in Phoenix. Okay? And on Thursday night, December 30th, it's going to air on the History Channel. Okay? And when Jim was sitting there, and you talk about a moment beside what happened, it was out there, he started talking about how he had a download. Okay? And that in itself, people go, well, okay, well, he remembers a download. But in his notebook, and he's going to answer a couple questions about the 27th, and look at his notebook, we understand why the 27th came up. But in his notebook, the day after, go ahead and tell you what he did.
Yeah, through the magic of television, I have probably in that notebook, I don't know, 18 pages done, you know, from that night. 6 pages I wrote around the craft. That's the scribbled mess that you see because I was terrified. Okay, I was terrified out there at that point in time. Those there have went public. Documentaries have been done on it. That's all they want. The documentary people have had it filmed. They've done their cameras on them. But all they have to do is go ahead and start looking back into it. And back into it. And this is where the 27th date comes in. I do say the 27th in there. Why would that be a wrong date? It's not a wrong date. The incident happened on the 26th. But the 27th, I had this, I went back to home. I'm down in the village, 4 Blenheim Road, and I think they took my house down. I'm not sure yet. I think they did. Anyway, I'm down there, and I got this urge because the pictorials are in front of my, going through my head. I mean, it's just crazy. It's like ones and zeros, ones and zeros. So I get my notebook back out because continuity, us in the Air Force have continuity. And I write 27 down. And I start recording 1 0 0 0 1 1 1 0 0 1 1 0 1 0 0. Oh, I can remember. That's exactly what's written. I can go through the whole thing. It's okay. Why? Isn't that weird? Wrote them all out. About 8 pages. Longer than that. 12 pages. Once I did that, it stopped. I had relief. So, notebooks put away. I have no urge. I have no desire to ever write anything about or talk about it because it's probably rubbish. It's probably gibberish. Okay? All I know is I was in a mental state at the time that was not good. John and I were kept apart on purpose. It was done by the LFSI. We have this on the tape that was done. Remember this? What do you got? Okay. You have that on the tape, right? That we could not get back together again. Because if we did, we discovered the truth. And so with that hypnotic suggestion, that's what happened. Bear with me. This is bizarre. So, I do stuff with Colonel Halt. Documentaries, come over here. Nothing happens. Go to the wrong sites. Film the wrong stuff. Halt is also part of the cover-up, by the way. You know that? Okay. He was under orders. Whether he admits it or not, he was under orders by OSI. The ongoing investigation was going on. Immediately, that tells everybody in the Air Force, whoop, hands off, ongoing investigation. OSI can investigate anybody at that base. They don't work for the wing commander, they don't work for the base commander, but they do brief the wing commander, hey, we got an investigation going on, but we can't talk about it. Right? Where am I at? So, Paul tells me in 2000, earlier than that, 1996, we do what was that show over here?
Sci-fi.
No, the one that you and I, Stranger True. What a rock that was. Maybe he called that thing a tank. That's what it looked like. Anybody, I'd say I love documentaries. Call it a tank. It don't look like a tank. It doesn't look like the size of a tank. Anyway, we come over to that show. Halt does not let me have contact with him. If I go for breakfast, Halt comes down and sits with us. Whatever it was, he kept us apart. Then after we get back to the States, I need to get a hold of John. I want to talk to John. I have questions. Chuck tells us, can't get a hold of him. He's gone. No longer lives in Chandler, Arizona. Huh. Okay, have you tried to get a hold of him? Don't worry about it, Jim. We'll get a hold of him. I'll do it. Your ex-base commander will do it for you. Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you. Can't get a hold of him. So it goes away. I figured John's in, I don't know, La La Land somewhere. And then you call. You called me when? Last fall?
That's the idea for the.
He says, Jim, I go, John, glad to hear you. You know, you're here. I'm looking for you. He goes, you know what we got to do? I said, yep. We have to go back to Rendlesham. We both do it. 1996. I wanted to do a book. I don't know why. I guess I want my story out and be accurate. And I was with an author called A.J. Esrael, Sally Rail. Anyway, it would turn into trying to make money off this story. Didn't want nothing to do with it. I sent her an email. The email says, sorry, Sally, I like you. You're a good person. But no, we're not going to do it. And at the end I said, but I know you're looking for answers. But the answers we solved December 2010, 1996, July. So I said that. John, how many years do you know about?
Well, I just knew we needed to get together and we needed to figure
So
it out.
that's what happened with the phone call. So it was automatic. Yes, go back to Lynch. So, and everything we did, got a hold of Linda Bolton Howell, John Muir. I'd done some work with her before. It was okay. Nothing personal. It was okay. Then Linda got in contact with Prometheus Entertainment, who does this, some, among other things, they did an ancient alien series. They were fascinated by the story. And like I said, when we went down the Phoenix shoot, that's when I brought up the codes for the first time. And I think that's, in the show on the 30th, it's going to say, we had the answers in front of us all the time. We did. They're always there. We're getting them deciphered right now. Linda has sources that we're doing. We got 2 sources. Now, don't take my word for that. First of all, I can't get through algebra. I'm not very good at math. Anyway, algebra was like rough in school. So I don't know how I could actually write this binary code down. But the fascinating part about the binary code on it is that we're going to prove. How are we going to prove this? I know how we're going to prove it. There's a test. John tells me, I get a glass of water, I think. Right. Excuse me. This sucks. Anyway, John says there's a test. Don't take my word on it. This is about facts, okay? Don't take my word for it. It's all about facts. Anybody gets up in front of you, you better ask them. I want facts, buddy. I don't want you to just sit there and say this is the way it was. Those guys you got to watch out for. They're trying to make money off this, okay? They don't want the truth. One of the things we're going to do is we're going to test the paper. That paper should say 1980. The ink should say 1980. So this was written right after the incident of 1980. John?
Anyway, okay, basically for me, when we were sitting there in Phoenix that day, when we got together, and I knew we needed to get together, and I knew we needed to come over here. Now there's a set of codes, okay? And I don't know how many people understand what they mean, because I totally don't myself still this day, but I did do some checking, and it is factual, there are binding codes. I can't give you exact details how they're downloaded or what they mean and everything else, but there is a message. It didn't just come back with the numbers, but there is a message to the binding code. And the thing about it is, it'll come out on what it is on the 30th, but the point being is it's clearly gone to a different level because of the fact that something was downloaded. And for him to be able to write these numbers out and they mean something, to me is unbelievable. And for me to sit there and look at it and get told that that's what they mean and they've been analyzed is unbelievable. So do you want me to go and say it's alien again? No, I can't do that. I never have. But what I can tell you is this, and that's why we wanted to go out to the gate tonight for those who wanted to go out there. We came on duty. We were doing our job. Okay? We saw something strange. Okay? It didn't add up. And I've been there almost 2 years. Okay? It affected the guy that was with me. He didn't even want to go out there to figure out what it was. We went out to see what it was. There was some kind of static electricity in there right at the end of the road. Okay? The lights were weird in the forest. And that's where I want to go to the lighthouse right now. Probably a lot of you already been out there, but you'll take a look. The lighthouse doesn't come into play at the gate. It doesn't come into play at the end of the road. It doesn't come into play in the first part of the forest. Okay? So whatever we were seeing at that point wasn't the lighthouse. Okay? So for the people that want to argue that point, okay, when you get way on that field, you can see a blinking light. But there was no lighthouse at the beginning all the way through. Okay? The meteor story, I can't dispute whether or not a meteor went down. But a meteor goes down. It's been reported it didn't crash in this area. It just flashed across the sky. So therefore, whatever was in the forest obviously wasn't a meteor. Okay? There was definitely a static charge there. Okay? A lot of people have come up to me and or told me over the years there's some kind of energy put out there anyway. Okay? But there was definitely a static charge. It's hard to really figure totally out because you're going at night. We're telling everybody to understand. If you go out there at night, you'll understand. When we went out there, we didn't know exactly where it was. And I can't tell you to this day exactly in the forest where it was, but I can tell you it was to the right of this, and it was in here, and it moved back here, and it went across the field. And based on my statement and what I felt and remembered going back out there, it happened down there, I feel, to the right of the farmer's house. And we had some kind of contact in the forest. We had some kind of contact out in the field, okay? And from statements that have been made to me over the years on what Jim remembers, and he's going to talk a little bit about what he remembers and what's hypnosis, but there was something that happened, okay? And then from there, we went farther back. So all I'm saying is it wasn't a lighthouse. It wasn't a helicopter. It wasn't an Apollo capsule coming down from the helicopter. It appears to be something, and I say appear because the initial report's going to come out on what was the initial codes, and the rest of them aren't being looked at. But it appears to be he has some kind of download. Okay? Now, I'm not an expert, and I can't tell you how it was downloaded, why it was downloaded, and who downloaded it. But there's something there that shows certain things that are hard to deal with. Okay? And the fact that if you look at where we feel the site was, it pushed more to the right, which pushes out towards Capitol Green. Okay? And that's where some of the other stories come out, that some other stuff happened out there. So it's clear that a lot of the stuff took place to the right of the farmhouse. Now, I got a question for you before you start asking this question. Go a little farther. How many of you have been out in that field at night? Okay. A lot. Okay. How many of you have been out in the field? Where have you gone? Have you been to the left of the farmer's house or to the right of the farmer's house? Everywhere. Okay. Okay. Have you ever noticed? Everybody remember how Colonel Hall says the house glows? It glowed red. Remember how he did that statement? It still glows today. But it's not from the craft. It's not from an alien encounter, but it's from the lights in the house. And when I went back out there 2 nights ago, the house looked exactly like it did when he described it, only at a certain point in the field. Which tells you again, we were to the right, we were down by that finger of trees, and something very strange happened out there. Okay? And I came back here to try to understand it. Okay? I went into hypnosis because I was told I went into something twice, which I don't remember. And I honestly don't. But under hypnosis, it says I did. Okay? His hypnosis opens up a lot of things that's there. And he wasn't led. Now, how it got there, I can't tell you. But what I can tell you is this, it's there. And that in itself is kind of strange, wouldn't you agree? I don't think we sat down and wrote a nursery rhyme or story out trying to figure this come out. We went under, and this stuff came out. Okay? And I understand people argue about hypnosis and say, well, you could have been misled or this could happen. I'm not going to sit here and argue with that because I'm not the expert on that either. But a lot of what came out was just what happened in the flow. So there's one of two answers to that one, basically. Either that's what really happened or somebody put that there. And who would have put that there? And why would it be? So when I go into hypnosis, I'm sitting here thinking, well, this will help it clear it up. It didn't. Okay? When he introduced the code, or the codes, which I never knew about, I mean, my look on my face that night was probably the same as what it was when whatever it was in front of us. Then they have the codes initially looked at and verified by 2 or 3 sources that they all come up with some of the same individual stuff, with some of it will be revealed on Thursday night. It's kind of hard to deal with, and I'm going to be honest with you. And that's where some of the people now start talking about the human toll. The human toll on Larry Warren, on Jim Peniston, on myself, on Adrian Bustinza, and everybody else. And to be honest with you, most of us can't give you a straight answer of what it was, why it was here, what happened to us, but we know something happened to us. As you can see from our humor on those t-shirts, it wasn't the lighthouse. It wasn't a helicopter. It wasn't a space capsule. Could it have been military? I don't know. I mean, that's kind of for you to decide. You've got to think about, did we have that technology back then? Did we have that technology? Okay? Could have been alien? I don't know. How many of you saw Colonel Conrad's statement that was released unauthorized? He said to Dave Clark that it could have been E.T. He doesn't know. Okay? So the base commander has openly admitted he doesn't even know what happened to us. Now he has some feelings, but he did list that it could be E.T. So this is a man who's in charge of the base. Okay? The other wing commander. I don't know how many of you seen this short interview he did, but he basically said I could put Humpty Dumpty back together again. I don't know what that means. He wouldn't confirm or deny the incident happened, but he was very upset that the halt memo came out. Okay? And why would they put a halt memo on? Okay, I can't answer that.
13 days later.
Yeah, 13 days later, but it came out. It's not factual in the dates, some of the things that went on, but it basically put together something that said a lot of different things that happened a lot of different ways. But what I'm trying to get to is this has helped me to come back and to realize some things, but the story hasn't ended, and I don't know if it ever will. But there are some things in there that I can't explain. I don't know why they're there, I don't know why they're happening, but it seems to be taking a timeline, and it's really hard to deal with sometimes. And what I'd like to do here is to thank you all for coming and listening to what we're having to say here. And we're trying to give you an idea about what we've been dealing with and what we're feeling about. And it wasn't intentional that we didn't release some of this information. It's just the way it's happened. And it's there. The notebook will verify it. And it will be presented as evidence. But something very strange happened to us. And I think Jim's got a couple more things to say, and then we'll be happy to take as many questions as you want to ask.
The cover-up is probably the major part of this. Okay? I'm not sure the dates. Was it a Friday? I don't know. John, what night was the first night? Friday?
It started Thursday night.
Thursday night. And then we had the incident with John again, and Halt and just the bunking efforts. And so Monday morning, I get a call before I go to work from Ipswich. It's our early work. Report the OSI building. Don't tell anybody. I ride with John. I take him to work. So Tell them all the way to work, John, I'll drop you off, I got some stuff to do, and then we'll go over and see Colonel Hall, because they were told to do that. So I got out in the OSI building, and I'm not saying it was OSI, it was in the building, okay? I know every OSI agent. I'm a cop, I know. I didn't know these two guys. Who were they? They were in suits. And they were nice guys. They wanted to buy me Cokes, they wanted to make sure my career was intact, and they wanted the truth. Write a statement. Don't hold anything out. Don't worry, we'll classify it. No problem. I was scared to death. I told them everything. Wrote everything out. 4 or 5 pages. Gave that to them. Still waiting down there. Come back in about 20 minutes, they do. They hand me a typed statement. The typed statement that you see on the internet, it's supposed to be my statement. I don't, it isn't signed, it isn't dated, but it's been released as my statement. No, it's the OSI, or those 2 officers I was talking to, their cover story. It's generic. It's metallic crap. You got within 50 meters. Blah, blah, blah. The rest is history. I said, what am I supposed to do with this story? You're going to tell this to anybody who investigates it. Your command element, another investigation, security police, wherever it is. This is the story. Read it, remember it. Okay, that's an order. Investigation going on. So I go through all that, and I do my best job I can to remember that stupid thing, right? So I go pick up John, go down to Colonel Halt's office. He plays us that silly tape. I mean, I've heard it 100 times. Okay. Oh, so what does this mean, Colonel? Oh, it means that I believe you guys. Okay. We want you to do statements. Okay, so we do statements. Sit John on one end of the conference table and me on the other, so I guess we can't, make the statements together, so I'm over. And so I write mine out, handwritten, dated it, signed it, did my drawings. John did the same thing. Airman Kabatzak did the same thing. The statements that are released, it's my statement, it's not my statement. It's the one from OSI. It's the cover story. You guys have been reading the cover story for 30 years. Good job, right? What a cover-up. Airman Kabatzak. He wasn't too new, he was new to the flight. He's easy to work. He's an airman, brand new. Here's your type statement on the form. Sign it. Well, they kind of read it, sign it. He signed it. He's scared to death. The only thing they probably can have happen is something with John. Maybe John, under sodium pentothal, could have his memory changed, altered, or something. Thank God. We used that statement to find the actual landing site. If it wasn't for that, he was just an airman. Maybe that was it. Don't worry about it. They got the security supervisor. He's taken care of it. They got the deputy base commander. He's taken care of it. They got the shift commander. He's taken care of it. You guys see what happened out here? The truth is here. We're telling it to you. As hard as it is, this is the truth. No lies. I'm not selling a book. Not making a movie. This is the truth. John?
All right. We'll take questions.
Questions?
If you want to step up one at a time.
You got to speak up loud. I got scared you hearing loss.
You come up and ask a question so everybody can hear it. So go ahead and make a cue here for everybody to like to ask a question.
You guys want these guys money?
Guys, excuse me. Can we put a brief hiatus on the Q&A session? Because the conference like this would not be complete without the British viewpoint.
Non, il n'a pas dit Holt, non, c'était pas de Holt qui parlait. Non, c'est un
He's a figure that I'm sure you're all very familiar with. He's our resident expert on all matters supernatural, particularly UFOs. And of course he was head of UFO inquiries at the NOD some many years ago. But it's my final pleasure to introduce you Mr. Nick Pope. Thank you very much.
going to take this. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, great. I'm not going to steal too much time because I know you've got loads of questions for the guys. But I think I'm going to be sitting on this panel too, so maybe if there's anything for me, throw it my way. I'm literally going to maybe just make a few observations based on my 21 years working for the Ministry of Defence, 3 years of which, as many of you may know, was spent on the UFO project, which was something I did from 1991 through to 1994. One thing that I have not said before, except to the guys, I think, on a radio show, but I wanted to kind of say it to you both in person. I did not even join the Ministry of Defence until 1985. So I certainly wasn't there at the time of the incident, though subsequently I undertook what police would call a cold case review of this. I'm going to say a couple of things about that in a minute. But even though I don't feel that I have done anything wrong here, I just sort of, as the nearest thing there is perhaps to an official spokesperson, I actually want to say sorry to you guys. You know, so if you were let down, which you clearly were, by your own government, by the chain of command, then in so much as it means anything coming from me, and I'm not sure that it does, but I am very sorry for the fact that you were put through this, and I hope that today is going to be something that is cathartic for you and helps you, you know, deal with this, because I know that I've met you several times. I mean, that's a big part of your lives, and I really hope that this is helpful to you. One thing that I would say about the Ministry of Defence's position on this, and it's a soundbite that I'm sure all of you are familiar with. The standard Ministry of Defence line on the Rendlesham Forest incident is actually the same as it is for the UFO phenomenon as a whole. It's this no defence significance quote. Well, let me tell you, you know, that is a kind of standard knee-jerk reaction that we trotted out every single time any member of the public or media representative asked us about UFOs. UFOs, no defence significance, because what else could we say? And you know what? Most times, we were right. Because, of course, most times it did just turn out to be misidentifications of aircraft lights, weather balloons, etc. But on this occasion, absolutely take this to the bank, this event was of extreme defence significance. And I'll tell you why. I mean, it doesn't matter if you're a believer or a skeptic. It doesn't matter whether you think this was Russian or Martian. It doesn't matter if you think this was extraterrestrial, interdimensional, intertemporal. If you have an object over arguably two of the most sensitive bases in the entire NATO alliance, and if this thing does what these people and many, many others say that it did, firing light beams down at the ground, firing light beams at their position, firing light beams possibly into the weapons storage area itself, then you know it doesn't matter, like I say, whether you're a believer or a skeptic. It's a defence issue. It's a national security issue. It's a security breach. So don't listen to the no defence significant soundbite, and if I ever wrote to any of you saying that, I apologise. It was the party line. The cold case review. This was just me sitting down, going through the files in 1994, doing what police officers would do with an unsolved crime. And it's interesting, one of my subsequent postings in the MOD was to a security division where I worked alongside military cops. So I actually got to know a fair bit about the police mindset and the investigatory process. And it was very interesting. We always used to say that a UFO sighting was much like a crime. if you solved it in the first 24 hours, 48 tops, fine. If you didn't, your chances of getting to the bottom of it became vanishingly small very, very quickly. So I did this cold case review, hoping that some new piece of information would come to light. But essentially what I found was a situation where both the British and the American government, whether by accident or design, were, I think, complicit in a cover-up, not necessarily with most of them of knowing what this was and hiding it, but almost not knowing what it was or what to do. It was very clear to me, for example, that the British were saying, well, clearly this is something that the Americans dealt with, they investigated at the time. Because they waited so long to report it, clearly they didn't think this was very important. They had matters well in hand. We also know that the Americans were saying pretty much the same thing. Well, it happened off base, and as General Baisley said, that makes, this was taken to the weekly meeting of 3rd Air Force, and the General almost rubbed his hands with glee and said, it's a British issue because it happened off base. So you have this situation where, arguably, both the British and the Americans had jurisdiction, but each thought, or perhaps hoped, that the other had primacy. Now, what this meant was that we had pretty much a situation where either and both parties to this could take a step back and say, well, you know what, we needn't get too worried about this. The other side have got it in hand. And the proof of this is perhaps one of the biggest failings of the entire investigation. Any investigator, any cop will tell you that there are a very small number of things that will fatally undermine any investigation. One is delay. We had that. The date on Holt's memo. A second thing that will foul up an investigation is poor information sharing. The Ministry of Defence didn't get these witness statements and these sketches, but neither did the USAF get the Defence Intelligence Staff assessment of radiation levels taken at the landing site. So both the USAF and the MOD had important information which we didn't share with the others. So delay and poor information sharing and the lack of putting one single individual in charge of an investigation. Instead, you had multiple investigations, multiple agencies, people coming on and off base that even those there weren't familiar with. This was a recipe for confusion. Maybe that confusion was deliberate, maybe it wasn't. Well, with those very few brief observations in mind, I really want to turn it over to the Q&A session now, and I'm not sure if it's Linda going to join us out here.
Actually, I want to say something.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, I don't want to give you no secret information because I want to keep my retirement check from the government. But I will neither confirm nor deny nuclear weapons on that base. Okay? All right? But we have to be able to go anywhere, any place, anytime. American forces, even whether they're stationed here, whether they're stationed wherever. I was PRP. What is that? You ever hear of PRP? Personal Reliability Program. That means I could actually provide security for nuclear weapons, delivery systems. Okay? The guys I work for could too. And there's a DOD directive, 5200 something. And there is a OSI directive. There is a Air Force Security Directive. There is a Department of Defense additional directive that goes on that says if the behavior or a situation comes up that's suspicious of an individual that's PRP, this has to happen immediately. You must relieve the person of duty. You must send them over to the hospital, have a psych evaluation done, and then that's temporary decertified. Then they have 30 days to decide if we're going to be permanently decertified on PRP, which means you're worthless in the United States Air Force, or put you back to duty. We never got relieved of duty. I, as a sergeant, if I thought he was acting funny, different, report him. I had no choice. I had to do that. Everybody had that responsibility. Ask yourself, why would anybody not do that unless they knew it was true? They knew it happened out there. That's why they would have pulled our PRP. This has never came up. That is one of the things that we're going to discuss tonight. The United States Air Force said, Jim, that's okay. You can go back to work. No problem. Take a day off. It's the same thing. You know what else they did? All right, I got top secret SCI, sensitive departmental information, background investigation. My clearance is upgraded. And I'm also given a top secret cosmic atomic. God, that sounds good. A NATO top secret. I'm upgraded 1 week after Rendlesham. I'm working flight. I don't need it. Why would they do that? 3 weeks later, guess what the Air Force does to me? Thank you very much. They make me non-commissioned officer in charge of security police, plans, and programs. I write all security regulations, all base defense plans, all security requirements for forward operating locations in Germany, and our war plans, by the way, which we used just recently in Afghanistan, was top secret. And I didn't know what I was doing. They had to train me. It took 6 months to train me in that job. They gave me 2 guys to work for me. I don't know what I'm doing. Why would they do that? Do you think there's a cover-up going on here? Do you think they want to watch me? Do you think they want to control me?
Did Colonel Hall get promoted too?
Colonel Hall got promoted with rank. They moved him to another location. But Colonel Hall was working for OSI because he was under orders. All officers, good officers, follow orders.
How is it that what you're saying now isn't affecting you? How come after the OSI on you now or after?
Well, I don't think it was OSI. I actually think it was DIA or NSA.
Is there any people following you around now? Have you been able to see?
Yeah, we've had problems, yes. Our security is an issue, yeah. Sure.
I just want to make one comment before we go to the formal Q&A, and it's just by way of a personal tribute to someone who those of you who have followed the case will be familiar with, Georgina Bruni, who sadly passed some time ago, but who gave so much, I think, to this case, both in terms of identifying witnesses and giving them a damn hard time, and indeed photographs, files. Georgina Bruni, God bless her, made such a wonderful contribution. I pay tribute to her this evening. And I should just say, Charles Hall told me very recently, God, he said, being interviewed by Georgina was like being grilled by OSI. She would have taken that as one heck of a compliment. So now, Q&A.
How do you guys want to do that? How do you guys want to do it? Hello, Brenda? No, I didn't pick up on those
Who's the farmer who disappeared? I would like to know, because I've done this case since 1980 and I can guarantee you there's no farmer ever disappeared.
A farmer?
A farmer.
I don't know about any farmer.
Well, what I had said was, I have no idea who the farmer was or where they went, or what happened to them. And I still
Here's the mic.
The farmer actually moved to Devon, and I've spoken to him on several occasions.
Hey, Brenda. Hey, Brenda. You remember me? When was the last time you talked to me? When was the time you had me? You were an investigator.
I spoke to you on the base in my car.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, you know, Brenda had the full opportunity to get the full story before it was classified. She blew it. She asked me one question. The first question. Do you have nuclear weapons out there? I said, can't confirm tonight. Goodbye. She could have had the whole story. It wasn't classified at that point.
I really don't believe you give me that.
That's
story
true.
Anyway,
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, because News of the World had put that out, and I wanted to talk. That's what did information for you.
Okay, thanks on. No, that's the thing I want to ask. I just want to ask about the farmer, because I don't really know which farmer you're referring to, but the farmer who actually did go from IT, moved to Devon, that was the guy who escaped and hit a taxi, or a taxi hit a cab. That's what you're talking about.
You was paid money to go down Cornwall to turn up.
I wasn't going to repeat that, Mark.
You have a question. Does Chuck Holt know that you know?
Would you like me to start? Here's the thing, guys, okay? And when we walk out here tonight, and even the ones that go out into the forest tonight, you're going to get a view of what we were dealing with. But there'll probably be more questions now than there were before. But ultimately, let's ask a couple of serious questions, okay? I think most people are familiar with the case. Chuck Holt claims that he wasn't in character. Chuck Holt claims that nobody talked to him about it. There was no discussion at wing headquarters. The wing commander really didn't know what was going on. And ask yourself one question. And then just going down the line on this. What would the wing commander not want to know about what went on? Why would the deputy base commander be out in the field on a night making a tape recording? You've all heard the tape recording. Now, we know for a fact that there's people out there that believe it was fabricated. But it wasn't. That's the real deal. He was experiencing something that was happening to him. Okay? And it wasn't the planets, it wasn't stars, it wasn't the lighthouse. And the fact that he wants to now come back and try to sell to you that he'll tell you what he saw, but he won't tell you what happened behind the scenes. What's that tell you? Okay? I made a harsh statement when I first put out for us all to get back together that I thought command level let us down. Okay, that's open to your determination whether they did or not. But if you work for a company and you went out and did your job and you were left out hanging to dry the way we were with no support, how would you feel? Okay? We didn't go out there because we asked to go out there. We got told to go out there. We were ordered out there that night. We had something strange going on. And in fact, we should never have went out there. Because the issue comes up, why did we go out there? Okay, and there's been speculation, and even our ship commander recently tried to go on the record and say, well, nothing really happened. Well, the question is why did you send us out there? It was off base. There was nothing happening on the base when we saw what we saw. It was clearly in their base. They got a hit on radar, and he admitted that, and now he doesn't want to talk about it. But there was a hit on radar that something went down in the forest. Okay, so we go out and do our job. We're asked to make a statement, we did. Now, here's something that has been danced around before, but the other thing that I don't think most of you understand, and it even goes back to Colonel Hall on this one, none of us planned on this ever coming out, okay? We didn't. We were told that it wouldn't, okay? We were confused after it happened. We couldn't understand what it was. We couldn't understand what we were dealing with. And I want a lot of you to go back to 1980, not today, not with the internet, Facebook, computers, cameras, instant everything. We were in the dark ages, if you think about it, in 1980. Okay? And when it happened, it was easy to contain, but they should have at least helped us, and they didn't. They asked for a statement, and then they let us hang out there. And then along comes Larry Warner, and I've made comments before, but he feels the story needs to come out. And I can't say that he was wrong. Okay? And he got the story out. And he worked his butt off to do it. Okay? And yet, the Air Force didn't do anything for us. okay? The only thing they've ever said officially was, we stand by Colonel Hall's statement that something happened out there. So we haven't been treated fairly. Colonel Hall hasn't been completely honest, okay? So I think the only determination I can make is that he was part of the cover-up in some way, shape, or form. I can't get down to the T. I can't get down to the T whether or not those holes in the ground were rabbit holes or not, okay? But I've never seen a rabbit hole glow or have radiation in it, okay? And there was a guy out there that was disaster preparedness that got a reading out of those indentations in the ground. There was some radiation on the trees. Now, it was above background, the MOD said it was, okay? So that in itself, we should have been taken care of, but we weren't. We're left out hanging to dry. And the people that were in charge of us haven't supported us, okay? And I'm not happy about it. I don't think it's right. And whether or not it's fair or not, I know what it is. Or maybe really, I've come to the conclusion I'm not sure they knew what they were doing. So, but it hasn't been done right. And there's been a lot of different things that have happened that weren't right. So I hope that helps.
And an ironic twist about Colonel Hall. I interviewed him a year ago and talked to him for probably about 90 minutes. In those 90 minutes, he was using obscenities that I could not put out on the air about his higher superiors. He was enraged, and this was his bottom line. Whether or not he was told to mix up dates or to be part of a cover-up, now, 30 years later, his anger seems to be real, that he felt like that decisions were being made up the line of command by Gabriel and Baisley and perhaps Conrad and Williams, that he was left out of, even though he felt that he had responsibility. Well, in that interview, he said that only in the last 3 or 4 years or so, after he had left his office in the Pentagon, his last official position, because now he's retired, he said that he knew a man who worked for the National Security Agency at Fort Meade, made communication, asked if there was a file on Bentwaters, and he, Colonel Halt, retired, wanted to see it if there was, and the answer was, yes, we have a thick file, but you don't have a need to know. And then he said, I'm convinced that the National Security Agency took over the Bentwaters investigation right from the beginning.
Okay, that's all. Come on up.
Colonel Hall told me and Larry when we met with him face to face, and we recorded an hour and 20-minute interview, 99% of which is reproduced and left at Eastgate, that one of his problems with Larry was Larry had claimed that the NSA was interested in him, that Larry's records were confiscated in the autumn of '81, even the most innocuous ones, and why would they be interested in an airman and not a colonel who had both been allegedly involved in this event? He told us that he had asked an associate at the Pentagon what was up on that, and he said, in all my years in the military, nobody has ever gotten back to me faster on the Pentagon, from the Pentagon, and they confirmed that, yes, they were interested in him, and his records were confiscated in the autumn of 1981, that they were not in the National Military Archives, they were in Fort Meade, Maryland, and that nobody had ever gotten back to him faster on anything again in all his years in the military.
The NSA
Can we, others put questions, please? Yeah.
First of all, it's nice to see you all here, and everybody else. This is probably directed at Nick. When I first met Colonel Holt, he informed me that the memo was not to be released, and that he said, well, the Americans shouldn't have released it. I get it right. He said Ministry of Defence said they shouldn't release it. And I said, well, it wasn't the Ministry of Defence, it came from the States. He then explained to me that Don Moreland was the one that told him to write it out and send it. Anyway, going ahead a few years, when Brenda and myself I believe Jenny Randall, we went to Ministry of Defence, and we had to take with us. And they said, and the first thing they said, well, how did you get Chuck's tape? Now, considering that Colonel Holt has said that he'd never been there, never actually talked to the Ministry of Defence, why did they call him Chuck and not Colonel Charles Holt?
Well, I don't know why they did that. What I do know is that obviously we were going back to the release of the memo. This was in an era where, while the US already had their Freedom of Information Act, we didn't have ours. But I know, and I've spoken to Colonel Holt about this many times, as have others on this panel, Charles Holt's view about the release of the memo was, no, don't do that, it'll kill my career. He said, burn it.
And then it was Don Morland, Squadron Leader Morland, that told him to write it.
Yes.
As far as I know, it's Don Morland that sent it to the Ministry of Defence.
That's correct.
So, Ministry of Defence did have that document.
Yes.
And yet when I was first on the phone to them, they said, oh, we don't know anything happening in Rendlesham Forest.
Well,
who's cuckoo?
Don't forget, I mean, the thing in the civil service culture, as in the military culture, people are posted every 2 or 3 years. So, you know, the person that you speak to is not necessarily the person that was dealing with something at the time. You know, bureaucracy rather than conspiracy is very often the answer.
Yeah, I've come across it several times. Can I just say one more thing? Just one question. As regards to the whole tape, on it, you was out in the forest with it. On the copy I've got, you can't hear the bracken.
You can't hear what the radio shouted? Right, I understand. We should be taken to the ground.
Good evening. I'd like to say well done to the USAF guys for coming forward. Very brave thing to do. The next RF and myself, I can understand the pressure you must have felt to come forward. I'd like to ask Nick Pope. You mentioned that it was of defence significance, what happened, where previously the MOD line was of no defence significance. I'd like to know what you think of the MOD line that the radar camera RF intercept was turned off at 15:27 Zulu on the 27th. What are your views on that? Any change?
No, I think one can look at the MOD case file and see that there's a litany of, at best, mistakes, at worst, something more sinister. I don't know whether it was sinister or not. It is the case that out of flying hours, some radar systems and the radar cameras were switched off. It is the case that sometimes the cameras that we use to record these things broke. I mean, you know, it comes back to the fact I don't know whether that was conspiracy or cock-up, as they say. I don't know.
I take the view that it is definitely conspiracy. I was at RF Intercept at that time and know for a fact that RF Intercept had 2 primary radars, both of which had radar cameras. Members of the MOD came to RF Intercept, removed radar tapes and also bridge logs, and there was all the staff at RF Intercept were told, on no uncertain terms, not to repeat this, and it didn't happen. But I understand that there is a line the MOD has to take, but the fact is, the MOD did remove stuff from RF Intercept. Whether it backs up what happened in Rendlesham Forest, I don't know, but I do know the MOD is lying through its teeth about RF Intercept, which incidentally is a sector operations centre at the time responsible for the air defence of the southern half of the United Kingdom, and would have been very, very interested in unidentified aircraft over Britain in the height of the Cold War, and tapes were removed. Thank you.
I'm certainly not. I'm certainly not. I'm not disputing that, and that's a very important piece of testimony. Thank you.
My name is Miriam Galina, and I am from Ealing in West London. I've got 2 comments to make and also 1 question for the panel. First of all, I became interested in ufology when I read Frank Drake's book, Is Anyone Out There? First of all, I would like to thank Larry Warren for his courage and his integrity to disclose what happened in December 1980. He has been ridiculed and discredited by those with other agendas. To quote Larry, to take him out of the equation or to take him out of the picture, you still have a story, regardless of the skeptics and the debunkers. The basic fundamental story is something extraordinary happened in Rendlesham Forest in December 1980, not just on one night, but on several nights. And Peter Robbins said in his presentation earlier this evening that Colonel Holt confirmed in an interview he did with him that this laser beam did disable the nuclear warheads contained in the weapons storage area at Bentwaters. Ladies and gentlemen, if some unknown craft can penetrate our air defences undetected by radar, that is of immense defence significance, as Nick Pope said earlier on, because it means we have no defence against these visitors wherever they come from. And an MOD should stop insulting our intelligence on this particular issue. Now, the question I have for the panel is this. I would like to know what happened to the film that was taken of the event by the military at the time and which was flown out of the base to Germany. Now, if WikiLeaks could get their hands on that material, that would be worth knowing about, wouldn't it?
There is something to comment, because Monroe Nevels, who was in disaster preparedness, said that he himself had taken photos at the site where there were the tripod marks and a circle of damage on the trees, but that when he developed his own photos, he wasn't going through a lab, he was developing his own photos, all of the film was fogged, which would be consistent with gamma ray radiation exposure.
I'd like to make one other statement about that. I don't believe, okay, and I want to break this down so you understand where I'm coming from. I was out there both times, okay? There was a lot of people out there. First time there was no movie films made. And what I mean by that, think about for a minute. We're talking 1980, okay? What would the power source be to run the cameras, okay? But what's not been talked about is the reel-to-reel tapes that were being run to command posts, okay? And those reel-to-reel tapes were being recorded. Not only do I know that because I worked there, because Colonel Hawley told me. And those had all the radio transmissions of what took place over 3 nights. Those tapes are gone. And that would explain one of the reasons. And the other thing is that when film was done at that time, it was put on reels like that. So there's no doubt, and I've talked to Captain Brown himself about it, there was stuff taken off the base immediately and sent over. But I don't really believe there was movie film taken of it, but there were pictures and the radio transmissions. And I've said all along, for the longest time, if you think the tape got your attention, you should have heard those radio transmissions that happened. It definitely wasn't the lighthouse, folks.
One of the most important documents in the MOD case file is one that comes very close to being a criticism of the Americans, which, for those of you who are MOD and military will know is extremely rare. But it's the document that talks about General Gabriel, Commander-in-Chief, United States Air Force in Europe, taking possession of the tape recorder and maybe other items. So the answer to the question, where did this go? Well, probably with General Gabriel to his headquarters at Ramstein, thence, I guess, back to the DOD, or the Pentagon, wherever, you know. So that's one thing. But look at that document, and you'll see that it is as near as I've ever seen a British government document coming to criticising the Americans for not telling us what was going on, because it finishes up by saying, maybe we could see this material too. You can sense the sarcasm.
Hello, John. I was just asking you about 1980, when you were in your guard hut, Eastgate, your luxurious guard hut, I mean, a very tiny little thing. Now, that was called Eastgate, and you used to do early checks to the back gate, which was on the north side of the base, wasn't it?
Which gate? I mean, East Gate or?
No, the north gate. It's on the. We used to do the shortcut. They did shortcuts across the flight line, and they used to give them a combination. Anybody wanted to cut across, or cut across the bent waters, right? You were doing early checks to the back gate, weren't you? From East Gate.
We would check the different gates, but
Yeah.
necessarily wasn't ours.
No.
I can't, and it's 30 years ago, I can't remember, we had checklists, we had things we had to do, so I don't know, it was hours, 4 hours, and that's what we were doing that night, we were down there checking these.
Just Colonel Holt was saying that you would go check on the back gate early, and you saw lights in the forest.
We were checking East Gate.
Yeah.
We were down checking East Gate. Yeah. I wasn't posted there, the gate was we were I was in with my supervisor, and we were riding around, and he actually saw the strange lights from behind him.
Yeah, yeah. So that wasn't the East Gate, it's all the lights, it was the back gate.
It was the East Gate.
What was the back gate? Because that was the one. Now, I'm sure the back gate that Colonel Bolton mentioned about, because he used to go shortcut and he came across from the Pennywater through the back gate down to East Gate. Yeah.
I'm just telling you, I was there, it was East Gate.
Yeah.
What's the rest of your advice?
It's East Gate, it's not a high fence gate, is it? Isn't it a little?
No, it's not. It wasn't at the time. It's different today, but it was half of what it was. Yes.
Yeah. And also, I hope that people know that the landing site is nearer the base than what it previously was. And on the north side is the landing site. Georgina's book is actually on the north side of the base. And it's the place that I've actually got photographs of it, and it's still there. The site is still there, but the tree's been cut down.
Okay, are you trying to say it was on the base itself, or was
No, it's on the north side of the base, opposite East Gate. If you look straight across the runway, straight on the other side, there's a landing site there, and it matches Holt's tape as well. Half of it.
Okay, so I'm trying to follow you. Okay, maybe
it's right. Yeah, I got that.
Show me. Just show me. I'll show you. The point is, you're saying it was off the runway.
It's the other side of the runway, over the other side of the perimeter fence, about 150 yards from the perimeter fence towards the north.
Okay, tonight show me. Okay, because I'm not going to argue with you because I was there and that's not what I remember. Okay, okay, well you can show me. Okay, that's fine.
Bring it right then.
Georgina Bruni's landing site, she was shown that by Vince shuttle. And if you've got a book, that's Route 10 opposite Folly House, that route down there. And just in the tree line, that was nowhere near your landing site. So that's not north, that's totally false. And bearing in mind, Vince Burger was sort of site like a week later or something, and he said, 6 weeks, was it? 6 weeks later, and that makes you wonder then, don't it?
What Vince said? Well,
yeah, he showed Georgina's Bruni the site, but that's nowhere near your one.
I mean, I wasn't there, so...
No, exactly. Also, what to say, just to back up your stuff, not far from here is an old psychiatric hospital, and colleagues of mine were working on the top story over that period, what was happening to you, and they saw 5 balls of orange light hovering over the forest. Not like Yorkshire or anything, they were hovering and they were moving about for some time. And they got bored looking at them, and they just thought, something's going on at the base. Also, my dad, in the days afterwards, went by the base and he said there were military personnel guarding the edge of the tree line. Now, to my knowledge, that's British territory, so why were they guarding that? If nothing had not gone on in there.
That's a fair assessment. I mean, I think started by telling you that we really shouldn't have went out there. And I'm not trying to put blame on why we went out there, but it really should have been, the bridge police should have responded out. I understand the radar, there was a disappearance on radar and they thought it was, and I believe the ship commander sent us out on that reason because of the radar and everything else. But in theory, technically, the British police should have went out and their fire department should have responded. But it was right outside the base, and we did go out to try to see what was going on, and it didn't work out the way we were hoping it would work out. When we didn't hope there was an aircraft, crash either. But it took the turn that it did. Okay. But as far as what they were doing afterwards, I didn't see that. I know there was activity in the woods, and the reason why I know that is because when I came back to work on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, I was put on the East Gate. And what I was told was they put me there, and it was on swing shift, so it was 3 to 11. And they put me out there for the reason that I'd already been involved in this and I'd already seen things, and that it wouldn't bother me if I saw it again, basically. And then if I saw anything strange going on, to call it in on the phone, not by the radio. And there was military aircraft from the base going out there. There was all kinds of things going on out there. So there's no doubt they were out there looking at something. And then Vince himself said there were people out there looking too that appeared to be British whatever, investigators with whatever agency. Nick has an interesting theory. He told me today that it was Americans masquerading as British. But he did, and he said we trained them to do that. So I'm not trying to pick on him, but who knows? But there was clearly an investigation going on. So why would they be out there looking around and doing what they were doing if we were chasing lighthouse?
And also it's interesting, the new information about, with the new London site is because for a long time, I think what confused people, and I've always gone by your statement, because I'd say that's the most closest one. And one thing you said, we went 10 to 20 yards down the road, and there was a track going into the woods there. That's no longer there, that's devastated by the hurricane. And I think that's what for a lot of people, they think you went down what was Route 12, that's hundreds of yards down the road. Right. And that's what throws people out to find in the landing site. Because me and Colin, we followed the path, what we think it was straight through, and it comes out where you're now saying, the new landing site is.
Well, I'm going to be clear about something. This is 30 years later, okay? I didn't take the pictures. I mean, I wasn't the one doing the investigation afterwards, okay? So I can't give you an exact location, and I'm going to tell you why. I was in the dark. How many people can go out into the dark? Never, wasn't out there in daylight. I had no idea what was going on. Go out there in the dark and come back and, go right back to the spot. And even coming back now, it was hard. But what I clearly believed was we were to the right of the farmhouse. And it happened between the right of the farmhouse and over towards Capitol Green. And what I mean by that is there's that sliver of trees that come out that match close to what my statement said. Okay? And we also felt we were out there, but we did not rediscover the landing site. Okay? And we did take some meters out there. We looked for some radiation. We did identify an energy field out there 2 days ago. There was an energy field out there where we used some equipment we identified. And one other thing I want to bring up, we took a starlight scope out there. Anybody ever went out there with the starlight scope? Okay? Okay. When you point the starlight scope at the lighthouse, it doesn't wink at you. There's not molten coming off of it. There's just a green dot there. Okay? So when Colonel Halt made his description of what it looked like, it wasn't him looking at the starlight scope being pulled by the lighthouse.
Hi there. You were talking about, Jim was talking about the binary code that he was downloaded and all that kind of stuff, but you said you couldn't tell us, and could you tell us what the message was? Is it out there?
Okay. The whole thing with the binary codes, and probably people like thinking, wow, it took this long. It came to light with the notebook. What he did was he brought the notebook in October when we were doing the interview, okay? And he started talking about different things, and he flipped it through the thing, and then it was like, what are those? And then he said, this is what I wrote down right after it happened, okay? But prior to even saying that, he said he felt like he had a download, okay? All right, so they were analyzed, okay? But what I can't really say what they said right now because it hasn't been released yet. Okay, it's going to be released on the 30th. And the reason why I can't tell you, it's going to be on the History Channel. It's 7 o'clock in the States, but it's going to be on the show Ancient Aliens, okay?
if you live in the UK, you can
You can download it off the computer. You can go on the computer and go to the History Channel and get it. But we're going to hold off until then. And honestly, it wasn't necessarily going to be totally discussed tonight. But the fact that we're here tonight on the 28th.
Wouldn't you want to tell us all as we're sitting here?
Huh?
No more, unlock the doors, no more secrets, come on.
The thing is, okay, I understand your curiosity, but the thing is we talked about this more in depth tonight than I actually felt comfortable with because it's going to come out. And they're going to want to know why on the 28th we didn't talk about it if it's going to be released on the 30th, okay? I'm sorry, it's going to come out. There's going to be...
It's only 300.
Who's on the side at the moment. I understand that if the government doesn't understand something, they're going to squash it, they're going to hide it. But if you've got 12 pages of binary codes, and you're going to sit on that for 30 years and not think that's relevant of some way, you only sort of realise this, 10 months ago or whatever. I just can't... 12 pages. 12 pages is a lot to sit on for 30 years. And then you point fingers at the government for covering up stuff they don't understand. I just can't... Everything you say is true. But then to come and say, 29 years later, you've got 12 pages of binary codes. That just doesn't add up.
I mean, I'll be able to address some of it, but I will say this, okay? That's a fair question, and when he comes up, I'm sure he'll say some more about it, but I didn't know about these codes, okay? And I can't explain what...
You can't tell me that 29 years, you don't think it would mean something. 12 pages. If it was just like one line, 12 pages. Right here.
He's right there.
And you say you're only getting them deciphered now. My curiosity, I would have taken it to some university or something and got it deciphered way before now.
What?
Oh, shit. 12 pages of download is a lot.
It didn't mean nothing to me. It didn't mean nothing to me. So I just didn't think.
Sorry, when you said that they looked at 5 pages or 8 pages of reports,
put yourself in my head.
They'd see the binary code.
Put yourself in my head on this one. You're out, you have contact with a craft of unknown origin. Bright lights, a triangular craft appears. Think about this one.
But surely,
okay, you've already seen the most awesome thing you could probably see.
Bloody hell, this must mean something.
No, actually, it was because of John. I don't think I would have done nothing with it. Honestly, it just wasn't important.
Someone who doesn't know codes and writes down 12 pages, which is not...
I didn't even know it was binary code. Okay,
is it not important now?
Huh?
Is it not important now?
It's important now.
Why is it important now? I just can't get my head around that.
Can I ask a question?
It's okay. You don't have to.
I have a question for both the gentlemen there. Obviously, this experience you've had has opened you up spiritually. How has that changed you and your outlook of life? Knowing that there's some information that you have that's not from this time. No.
Here's the thing, okay? And you've got, it's fair for you to be angry, okay? And it's fair for you to ask about the codes, okay? I can't answer to you, I didn't know about the codes till October, okay? First of all, I had no idea about what they meant. And to be honest with you, and this is the straight story on the code, They didn't mean anything at the time, other than he said at that point when he was talking about things, he felt he had a download. Okay, and then he showed these numbers, which if you look at the numbers, you may be an expert on binary codes. You guys immediately said that's what they were. But in 1980, how many of you knew what a binary code was? Anybody? Okay, that's fair, but we did. Okay. And he's trying to explain to you that we were trying to deal with just what was it in the first place.
Okay, I think they're questioning credibility of it. Maybe that's fine. No, this is okay. I think I'm following you. No, that's fine.
Okay, what about the hypnosis?
No, I'm going to go back to the hypnosis now. That's where I'm going. 1994, they are all described in the hypnosis. The download, everything. It was done that year.
I wasn't supposed to say nothing, brother, but I'm going to lay this on you too. Every 30 years, with no disrespect, man. Because this ain't my gig, this is these guys' gig. Very important stuff. I understand where you're coming from, but in 30 years, the popcorn keeps going off. This, that, and the other goes down and gets connected. And some people don't like it. Some people, we don't like it. I don't like the role that I got maybe thrown in. I have no idea. I'm not important, really, am I? But at the end of the day, a lot of this stuff has its time, and you got to understand the times when all this was coming out. Man, you get tarred and feathered saying you saw a UFO, right? There weren't as much pretty girls you see here back in 1983 either, so things have gotten better. So we're being some levity. I don't know what they got there, but they got it, brother, and it's been a long time. These are straight shooting guys, man. I knew them then. I was scared of that. And we were drinking Jack Daniels and Black Cat. Remember that shit? We screamed the cats. That's what they were about. They were straight guys, man. So hearing it from them, that's where it is. I was a 19
No, I agree with you. Thank you very much. I want to kiss you over that. That's very nice. But one of the situations that we have here, I don't think you guys understand our mindset. This is the largest tactic fighter wing in the United States Air Force at the time. We had things there that just scared the bejesus out of you. Okay?
We grew up in the United States Air Force all around us. We're not impressed by statements like we were part of the United States.
Give it a rest! Give it a rest!
No, it's fine.
I was a child.
No, you gotta understand the mindset.
I was a child.
That's fair enough. You don't understand my mindset.
Didn't grow up at all.
My mindset. Okay. I mean, there's no kidding around. There's no joking around. I'm in charge of 3 restricted areas over there. I was that night. Something like, I don't know, 85 aircraft. I thought there was pilots down in the woods. I thought they were dying. That's what I went out there for. Why do you think we got permission to go off base? Because radar contact was lost on a vehicle of some kind. That's why we went off base. Status of forces agreement. Next question.
I've got something entirely different for you. What time did you first see the lights? Sometime in the early morning.
I'm glad you brought this up, Bill. Go ahead and answer because of the change from my time.
Okay, yeah.
Is that 3 o'clock in the morning?
It started right around 3 o'clock in the morning.
Why was I stopped in a motor car just after 10 o'clock by the American military armed on a public highway telling me there's been an incident?
Which night was it?
That night.
So Boxing Night's the 26th into the 27th, and we haven't covered there was activity that night, but our night was started on Christmas night, went into the morning of the 26th. So there would have been nobody after, but we haven't covered evidence that there was a second night between the third night.
Yeah, well, this is Boxing Night.
Right, which would have been the night of the 26th.
Correct.
Right, not our night, because ours started at Christmas. We came on duty on the 25th, and it happened at 0300 on the 26th, which would not have been Boxing Night. It would have been early in the morning of the 26th on Boxing Night.
Yeah, that's right.
It's important. No, before you walk away, we'd like to hear about what happened, because I've always said there was 3 nights. And I had some inside information almost from the beginning, because when I went up to the desk, there was an incident that took place in the forest. So it's important that you talk to us about what you had happen to you and what was going on.
Well, basically, boxing night, I was over at Woodbridge, about 5 miles south of the place.
Right.
Drinking the bar. And it must have been about 10:15, coming up to 10 o'clock. And we noticed a very bright white light flying past on the normal fly path. Okay. But the main thing was, it made no noise whatsoever. No noise. And it was so bright you couldn't look at it. It set up shadows in the room. So we thought, well, obviously somebody's had a power, being a playmat, and they're trying to get back to data. And that's when I ran the roadblock. That's manned by an American.
That's fair, and it's an important piece of information.
You know, the other thing is, you shouldn't really holler at other people. If someone's got a question, ask them.
Jim,
I don't care. Jim, don't bother me. I only can tell you what I know.
No. You might know this. Like, I've read somewhere there was a British police officer in attendance on one of those nights, and that he refused to write down that information in his notebook because he was too scared of being ridiculed. Is that true or false?
Well, it usually happens, but I don't know. PCs came out the morning after.
The way this went down, and the interesting thing about the British police, okay, and I'll be honest about this, they were called out, but by the time they got out, it was over. As far as what we were encountering, okay, and they met up with us as we came back in. But the whole thing with the area they found and the indentations and the radiation and everything, him and I weren't involved in that investigation. And if he felt there was something wrong, I can understand why he didn't want to talk about it. Because what you brought up is fair. We didn't know what we were dealing with, okay? And I didn't want to talk about it. And the statement I wrote was because I was told I had to write one. I don't want to talk about it. And it's not that I don't want to be here today because the story came out, and I'm here today talking about it. But as far as I was concerned, from the time I dealt with that incident, when I went out there, and I couldn't explain what it was, and it was really getting into me about trying to figure out how it happened, what had happened. I wanted it to go away, plain and simple. And I didn't want to talk about it, and I didn't want to try to explain it because I didn't know how to explain it. And I still can't explain it to you to this day. And for those who are here that believe it was aliens, it's a fair assessment. For those that you believe it was military, fair assessment too. And for me, I'm still trying to find out what it was. Okay, but I do feel I wasn't treated fairly, and I do feel that the answers are still there and they could come out. Okay, and some of the people coming up, like him bringing up he was stopped in between the two nights. That just reinforces there was another incident.
Hello? Okay. Do you remember the plaster cast that you had? Well, when Colonel Hart came in 1996, I did a lecture up in Manchester. He had one of the plaster casts in a shopping bag, just a plastic shopping bag. He was just carrying it around town. And if they were that precious and that, and they were what you actually took, what was he carrying it around in a plastic shopping bag?
I don't know. I didn't know he was doing that.
Well, that was a lump of concrete.
Oh, you're going to have to ask Colonel Hall. I gave you that for safeguarding. So I really have a problem with that. And what year was that? Oh, we're going to call Chucky maybe up about that. No, I gave that to him. No, I got the other ones. I said, put away in storage so they don't get wet and stuff.
Well, he had it in
Can you tell us exactly when your investigators were first given this download binary code information? In other words, you were investigated straight away after the incident.
It wasn't given at all because of tampering with the story, a false story that was generated.
So when did the American...
First week in February was the actual sodium pentothal at OSI building. That's on the tape.
So you gave them that binary information then at that point?
I have no idea.
But you think they probably got hold of that information at that point?
I don't know. I mean, they did give me wrong locations and other things.
So they did see that book that you had written all that information in?
No, they didn't know I had that book.
Oh, so when did you actually reveal that book to
OSI?
Yeah.
I'm telling you what, I got pulled in that Monday morning, scared to death. I said, no, I'm not going to tell them about that. I'm not going to tell them about plastic cast. They can do their own investigations. It's so good at it. And then in the February, first week of February, we got back down to OSI building and got the sodium pentothal. You know what? No way I'm going to give them anything. All they had to do was ask, probably, and I would have revealed it. You know, but no, I always kept notes. You know, as soon as I worked with me, I kept notes. I was like Mr. Note Taker. Always kept notes.
I mean, when do you think the NSA, for instance, actually got hold of this binary information?
I'm not sure. They could have done it on the with the sodium. See, I don't know. You can't remember. I don't know. That would be a likely spot, you know, because I remember the first doing the first statement. I was scared, but you know, I remember it quite clearly. But I think it would have to be done with the sodium pentothal. You know, I freely said, okay, that's a good idea. Sodium pentothal. You guys are not sure about all the facts. You don't know what's going on. You know the truth. Yeah, okay. I'm okay with that. They'll go ahead and just put this thing away because I'm thinking like he is. I want this to go away. You know, I don't want to have to deal with it. But did that answer your question? Or okay.
I've just got a couple of questions for Jim. They're not questions about extraterrestrials or time travel or conspiracy theories. It's very human questions, really. Like you said yourself, John, that you never volunteered for this to happen to you. It wasn't something you wanted necessarily. It just happened. Now, since that time, I guess you guys are no longer treated like normal people. Like just tonight, you can see some people treat you like rock stars. They want your autographs and pictures taken with you. Some people think you're weird, and you're crazy, and treat you very cynically. You're no longer normal people, if you like, after this happened. I've got two, well, you are normal people, but you're not treated like normal people anymore. The very fact you're up on stage. I want to know two things, really. How has it changed you, and do you ever wish it hadn't happened to you?
Yes, I had a choice that a couple days before. Jim, do you want to work the Christmas schedule or do you want to work the New Year schedule? I spent 8 seconds maybe to make that decision. The worst decision I ever made in my life. Oh, I'll work Christmas. That changed my life. It's a life-changing event for sure, especially when everything stops and you can't talk about it. You have other people in the Air Force at different assignments coming up to you saying, hey, weren't you the person at Denmark? Nope. Nope, can't talk about it, don't even want to touch it. Classified. Yeah, I got that. Do we like the limelight? Absolutely not. This is not about us. This is not about us. This is about a story, a situation that happened on your soil that you should be very, very concerned about.
I just wondered if you could explain to them what happened about your first real statement and then what happened that was the only one in the public.
Because that seems so important right now.
You know, the first statement was done on Monday morning, and I dropped John off, went down to the OSI building, 2 guys I don't know, you know, I give them a statement, write it out, 4 or 5 pages long, I can't remember. Sketched to death, told them what happened out there. That included, oh, hey, going back to the other question, that included it. That statement included it about the information transfer. Thank you. And gave that to him, and then that's why I got the cover story. which is the paragraph that they put in the internet and Colonel Halt's been passing around. I wonder why he's doing that. I don't know, I can't figure that one out. And no, she's part of the cover-up. So, no, my statements haven't seen light day, and I'll tell you right now, the one that OSI on that morning, I'll guarantee you that's top secret. What I wrote in there is top secret. It's not going to see light of day. No, the best chance for us seeing light of day is actually those audio tapes that have detailed information of all the radio transmissions of all 4 channels: Commandment, LE, Security, WSA. Those are the 4 channels we have. Yeah, so yeah, I forgot about that. Actually, on the first OSI that came out. We're actually tired. I'm not trying to get out of stuff. You know.
You say you wish that had changed you, like whether you wish it hadn't actually happened to you.
I wish it was someone else. Yeah.
Did you have the download, you say, when you were touching his symbol?
Yeah, it could be coincident. You know, I don't know. I'm not saying I initiated. I'm just saying that happened while I was there. As far as having someone else happen to, anybody but me. But the situation that was going on there, I was very comfortable with at the base. I thought it was a downed aircraft, or at least I was trying to talk myself into it. And Sergeant Stephan says, "That's not a downed aircraft, it landed." I'm looking at another guy 15 years and I go, "That ain't right." You know, that ain't right. That don't make sense. So I called on a direct line to CSC, and that is confirmed by radar. We lost contact over Woodbridge. 15 minutes ago, a bogey or doesn't have a transponder. That's military aircraft. None of them do, you know. So that wasn't a big deal. That meant we lost the aircraft, or maybe a neighboring aircraft. We don't know. So I'm now getting the crash kit out. I'm thinking about nothing but dead bodies. Have to recover because I haven't seen one. We lost 26 pilots there while we lived. 26 dead pilots. Wrong move with the A-10s. They kept one turn and dropped them to sea. They named streets after them at Delaware. They ran out of streets. Okay, Colonel Thompson was done at an air show, I think, though. But yeah, it's great.
Okay. If it happened again, I'd go back out there because that's my job. Okay. If I knew what was going to happen, I'd still have to go back out there because that was my job that night. Okay. If I could trade places with you, I'd be happy for you to go out there for me. Okay. This didn't just affect Jim and I; it affected a lot of people, and it tore a lot of people apart. And it still bugs us to this day. And there's a lot of anger involved in this, okay? Not just from us, from other people, okay? And there's a lot of people out there that are not sure what happened to us, and a lot of people don't even like what we're telling them. So, yeah, I'd go back out there if I was on duty and it was my job. I'd go back out there even if I was on duty and it was my job and I knew that's what was going to happen. But if I could trade places with somebody, you bet I would. I think it's both. I mean, I don't understand what happened to me, and I can't explain it. Okay? I can do the best that I can based on what I know, what I saw, what I remember, what's come out under hypnosis. But I also don't feel we were treated fairly because I stayed 26 years before I retired, and I had other things happen to me. No, they weren't UFOs. Okay? But when something went down, we were briefed, we were brought in, or I dealt with my troops I was in charge with. And we were just left out and dry on this. And as Nick has said, it could be very well they didn't know what to do with it either, okay? And they didn't know how to deal with it. But at the same time, we should have at least been checked out medically because we did go off base and have something happen to us.
The other thing I think you got to keep in mind is I don't believe in all that UFO stuff. Okay? Never have, never will. Which is interesting, so I'm out there looking for a security issue. My only job is render assistance, life threatening or whatever it is. Render assistance, establish a control point, make sure it's upwind. I can go through the whole checklist, okay? I know exactly what I gotta do. I'm going to do it. That's what I was going to do. But the only second part of my job was when I determined it was a possible security threat to the installation, which I did. Now, I would tell them by helping hand report, that's what we call it, possible security situation. At that point in time when I did that, my whole focus was on one thing which I was trained on. He was trained on too. Kabanzak was trained on too. Report exactly what you see. Exactly what you see. Our job is not to determine what it is other than a security threat. I canceled the security threat 5 minutes into it. It was benign. It wasn't doing nothing. The people that had to make a decision went back to Central Security Bureau. That's not my job. My job is to report what I see. That's what I do. Report everything you see. Let them figure it out. That's not my job. I don't get paid to do that. Nothing more. There's nothing more to it. The only thing is that he said that they never released our names and stuff in the reports. That was guaranteed by Colonel Hall. Bless him for that one. He did a good job in it. Yeah, I'm angry at him. Don't believe colonels. Yes.
Yeah, just kind of being such a secure base and, you know, having lights in the sky and all this happening, did they not, scramble aircraft to intercept?
No, there was no flying on Woodbridge or Denmark. It was down for flying on both those days, at least probably for 3 days up to the Monday. Yeah. And but they would have scrambled out. Lightning would have been one. I think they had F-15s at the time, or somewhat fast aircraft. You know, I'm talking like 4 or 5 minute flight time.
Yeah. What about helicopters?
That was down. They didn't fly. No, their mission for 67th was at Lake for that night.
You said you went to the OSI office. Was Colonel Hall there? Was that his office?
No, Colonel Hall was not at the OSI building. There was 2 unidentified agents. Colonel Hall called the security police ordinance. Probably talked to maybe Ziegler. I don't know. I don't know who he talked to. Probably man. And they called. Huh? I don't know. I'm just telling you the facts, ma'am. I don't know. I'm just telling you. I don't want to guess this stuff. All right. That's what we've done enough of that here. No, I just. Well, I don't care. I got orders. I got a call. Go to your room. The base commander says, report to OSI. I go, okay. I don't care where Colonel Hall is. I do my duty. I do my job. I go down there. He wasn't in the OSI building. I don't know. I can't, tell you anything else where his location was. I have no idea. I didn't care.
I believe he was on his own.
Who? Oh, no, he was on orders from another agency.
Excuse me, can we just, we do have a queue here of questions, please, if you don't mind.
Well, good evening, everybody, for coming, and that means all of you out there, because without...
Closer to your mouth, please.
Sorry?
Closer to...
I'm pushing it on. I'll talk without it if you like. Okay. Yes, thanks everybody for coming. I do have a question which I think will be interesting to everybody, and it concerns something that was in Brenda's book, Sky Crash. I can't remember actually what the thing stands for exactly. I can't get the last letter. But can I ask this to all members of the panel? What do you think about one of the manifestations on the 30th of December that was seen by Art Wallace? Do any of you think that this was a space recovery craft? Multiple unit space transport and recovery.
It was on day one.
You think it was?
No, I know it wasn't. No, didn't fly on night one.
Other folks? Any comment from the rest of the panel?
First, Art Wallace was a pseudonym that was assigned
I never
to
used,
Larry
by the way.
And to the best of my knowledge, and I think the best of Larry's, this information at best can't be substantiated. It's completely theoretical. And other than that, I really can't comment.
I mean, the page here shows something that could be foreshortened. The picture without too much glare in it. Refer page 96.
I'm familiar with the drawing, which was done by Larry as an impression of one of the many impressions that he's drawn of the object that was on the ground in King Green. Again, more than that, we can only speculate.
But the tiles and the light that would be involved in that would be just about right for being basic colour. That's all. It's just an interesting point that I've been wondering over the years. Thank you.
Well, firstly, I come from a bunch of people that have been coming down the forest now for about 16 years, is it now, Al? So this is kind of important to some people here, yeah? I dare say it isn't everyone, but there's a lot of people put a lot of time in it coming down. Anyway, two parts to the question. Firstly, Nick, with regards to the radar being switched off, I mean, there's a joke you know as well as I do. Yeah. I mean, I think it was Gary. Is if he's still here?
Yeah.
Yeah, said there was no hope with that. A lot of offensives are done at that time of year, aren't they? Yeah? So the chances of it being switched off are very unlikely anyway, yeah?
But
anyway,
the Cold War impossible.
there was no way they would be switched off. I mean, no one really does believe that anyway. But, more importantly, are you saying that you were all put under some kind of sodium, sort of mind drug to mess about with you or not?
I know I was. I know I was.
You were?
Yeah.
I think you said the same, yeah?
No, I never do.
Larry definitely has said that he sort of had been messed about with so on and so forth. There's one concern with that whole concept. You are the best witnesses to everyone here, yeah? Right? So there is a danger that if you've been messed with and you have an unclear picture, we will never, ever find out the absolute truth.
That was the plan. Yes. That's the plan. That's the cover.
And am I the only person to have thought that? But that's the thing, we never will. You've come here, we're hoped we would find out a little something, but all you've come here and said is, I'm not clear.
Well, a lot of it's like that, but I'll say this about the clothes. I mean, they were done the day after the incident. They were verified with the hypnosis in '94. And then what's in them?
Does it give us any answers though?
I've had hypnosis done myself, and the thing, as we all know, you're perfectly awake. Yeah, you can snap out of it whenever you like. Well, when I've been under hypnosis, they will tell you if you want to come out of it, you can come out of it. Yeah, so you are completely conscious.
I don't remember the hypnosis. I had to watch the tape.
But this is the thing. A lot of what we're seeing here tonight is like under hypnosis, which is at best maybe. You'd appreciate that, yeah?
Yeah, you got to stop and think that there was containment procedures implemented. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
That's
so the overall concept is no one will ever find out.
Well,
yeah.
That's almost true.
Here's something that I'll bring up again. Okay. First of all, I wasn't aware of the codes. I didn't see them written down until October, and it was in his original notebook, and I looked it over. That's the first time I'd seen the notebook. And there's something to them. Okay. Now, when it gets released on Thursday, and it'll be all over the internet and everything, it'll be up to you to decide. But if the fact that I didn't understand binary codes, and we didn't attack about that, but I didn't know anything about binary codes right up until I was told that they were looked at, and this is what they said. And from what I've been told, and I'm telling you this not because I'm an expert, but these are legit things that happen. and they mean something. And the fact that these codes, they mean something, okay? And the thing is that once it comes out, it may help clear up a few things. It may not.
There's no secrets with this. What we're trying to do is we want to get the paper verified for you, as part of it, and with the ink, so you know the correct timeline when that came out, what's written down. We want all that put in there as one package, because believe us, one thing we have learned about Rendlesham, in 30 years of it, we're skeptics and question how to handle it. And that's how you handle it. You put all the evidence out and you lay it out. That's how you do it.
But I'm not doubting what.
No, it's okay, but if somebody else could. You put it all out. This person over here will pick one little bit of it. We put it all
They'll
out.
find out real next week, won't they?
Well, with testing the paper, no, that won't be out yet.
You guys said that you weren't trying to kind of have a opinion about it, just report the facts. But do you have an opinion of what it was? Can you share it?
We have an opinion what it's not. Okay? It's not an aircraft that was built by the Soviets. Warsaw Pact, United States, or any prototype aircraft that's in the sunset. The capability of it, the technology, was no fuel compartments, no exhaust, no intake, solid black in color, and no sound, no generation of takeoff with no air displacement. Impossible. Felt like glass. There's nothing today that can fly with no noise like that at that speed. So you go out whatever you want. I'm saying it's not one of the James Book of known aircraft, or it's something that's sitting in Area 51. That's all that is, by the way, is extraordinary aircraft, by the way. There's nothing else there. So.
Why these are not new?
Pardon?
If it's so important, why the History Channel and not regular news?
Because we actually want to control the information that goes out. We've been burnt in the past with it, so we want to make sure that it's controlled and put out in a rational manner.
Please, can I just say, if there's any questions, can you please come and use the mic so everybody at the back can actually hear what is being asked? Thank you.
Okay, I have a question for Tom Burrows. It's been reported that you actually walked up to the craft and actually rode along on it. Is that correct?
You asked, people brought up the discrepancies in hypnosis. I remember getting close to something twice, okay? And then I can't answer for sure what happened at that point. And I've been clear about that from day one. When the story broke and I've been asked. Okay, under hypnosis, it says that something did happen. Yes.
What, you actually got on the thing and were carried along?
No, I went into something, and that whatever it was, I was.
You actually lost time? Do you think you were abducted at that point?
See, you want me to say I was abducted, and I don't know. I don't know.
Did you lose a large chunk of time?
Both from the first night we were told they had lost radio contact for 45 minutes. Okay? And on the third night, there was no report of lost radio contact. But what I can tell you, what I remember, is especially on the third night, I was getting close to something, and then whatever it was gone, and I turned around, and everyone was behind me, and I don't know how I got that a little bit further, and I couldn't understand where it went, because it was like I was here in front of him, and then it was gone. Okay? And that's some of what I'm trying to explain to you guys. You don't have to like it, but I can't explain how it happened. I don't know why it happened, and I can't honestly tell you what it was. And I'd like to know. And if the government doesn't know, then they can say that. But obviously there's ramifications with that too. But the point being is I honestly don't know for sure. And I don't have a problem people not liking the hypnosis. And there are open determinations on what it means and it doesn't mean. But the codes are there, and they mean something. And, well, okay, you asked the question about the news. Let's see what they do with it. It's going to come out. It's going to be there. It's going to be there. And everyone that watches it or sees it or reads about it, why don't you call the news and ask them? Okay, why don't you go home tonight, the ones that don't understand what they are, and look them up and see if they're legit.
I mean, can you say whether it's code or program or a combination of both? Or data or program? In binary code, can that be data or it can be program? It can actually program a virtual machine. It can make a computer do something.
Or is there a message in that code? Language.
There's a lot there. Okay, it'll be a brief statement on some of what it is. And let's do this. Let's see what the news does with it. Okay, the codes are there. They mean something. Take a look at them. See what you think. And you don't have to watch the channel to do it. They'll be online, and they're also, I'm sure there's probably people talking about it right now. But it's there, and it's why is it there? Okay, we can argue about should we release it earlier, should we understood it, should we known all that. Okay, but it's there, and it does mean something. Okay, and it's fair to say, take a look at it. You don't have to like it, but take a look at it and see what you think. But it bothers me, and I don't understand why it would be there, and I don't like what it says.
But will it be accessible online?
Well, yeah, I'm sure as soon as it hits, there's going to be a lot of things. You know how it works. Okay, you say something now, and before you get out the door, if it's something that is important, right?
The rescue units was there for, and also was there a practice that night, even if it's not to do with the incident?
I spent 26 years, and I retired in the middle, right after I did 2 tours over in the Middle East after 9/11. Okay, and as the years went by, ARS, pararescue, we got more and more into different things. But where I was stationed and what I saw them do and what went on was their primary mission was to rescue pilots. Okay. And that was if there was an aircraft crash or whatever, that was their job. They also worked on other things, Some of it was classified, some of it wasn't. There was a space capsule there. But the Apollo program was over. But that's all up to debate. But the bottom line was, I can tell you this, on the night of the 25th, when we came on duty, into the morning of the 26th, the airfield was shut down. There was nobody in the control tower Woodbridge. The runway lights were off. All the aircraft were buttoned down. All the helicopters were buttoned down. If there would have been activity, we would have had the ARCs doing certain things, and we would have known the aircraft lifted off. And then also, I think most people are familiar with what a helicopter sounds like. And would you not say the woods are pretty quiet at night? So if I'm out there in the woods, especially that I work around the aircraft, would I not know if there was a helicopter roaming? So yes, they did work with the Apollo program. Yes, their primary job was search and recovery for downed aircraft. And they had other duties too. Okay, but on our night when Jim and I went out there, and Ed too, I wish you could do it, there was nothing in the air.
Any more questions, please? Can you come forward, please, so everybody else can hear you in the back? Thank you.
Long rumours of an underground facility. Is there any confirmation?
Wing Operations Center is a basement. They have 6 vault doors. Normally, Wing Intel has their offices down there, and they also keep different type of flight reconnaissance things down there, and that's over the big wing ops building. And it could be confused by a disorientated young woman as underground facility that's 4 rooms long.
And I'll go a step further. A lot of you people are from around here, and you know what the water table's like. Okay? So the odds of a huge underground complex, what I've been told, not me personally knowing and checking, but it's pretty rare. But there was a facility that had something that went underground, and underground was like a basement. And
Marshall Heath had a partial. They had a partial at Marshall Heath, but that has nothing to do with this.
Right. But if you were being messed with and drugged or whatever, it could be easily construed. And believe me, when it comes to interrogation, I think most people have seen movies and stuff. Why that's true. They can make you think something's going on. But there was a facility where it could appear to have been underground. Yes. Does that help? Is there any other questions, guys? Go ahead and ask. Okay. I honestly don't know what the History Channel schedule is.
Just a couple of things. The first thing about the Air Force dumping after the steam after the support work. I think that's normal. Falklands World War, the Americans, Vietnam, they were left alone. They weren't supporting
Well, they worked with me. They worked with me. I'll tell you that. Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's just what I would.
No, they worked with me. I had another 14 debriefs, and then 2 more from OSI. Yeah, they were working hard with me.
You were saying you wanted to support it.
Oh, that's what their quest of the whole thing was. We're here to help you. Yeah. No, they weren't here to help. What they were saying.
The question that I've got is, there's documents going missing, tapes are disappearing. Now, going back and getting samples, I forget, was it you that took the samples, no name, animals, soil samples? What I can't understand, they can, either our government or your government, it's been so easy to find an excuse to extend the airbase, and where all that happened, concrete it over, make a car park, building, whatever, and that you can't get any more soil samples.
I got an easier way. There's an easier way than that. The Air Force had the golden opportunity on my retirement date in 1993. I'm at Grissom Air Force Base in Indiana, and I'm down at CBP, all our personnel center, and they got a list of classified nuclear weapons, contingency plans, first strike, minute for a minute air, how long does it take to get to Moscow? I mean, we got all that stuff, right? So it's just all kinds of stuff. I'm looking down the list. This is what about Rendlesham? Oh, we don't know about Rendlesham. Okay, did you shoot a message off? They shot a message off Pentagon. Here's their golden opportunity. It's still classified. No, they send that. This is the Air Force. It's crazy. They says, and it's suspicious how they say this. They said, on this message back to CBP and PO, it says, nothing happened at Rendlesham, therefore nothing is classified. What does that mean? Well, that's what we're talking about. We got these papers that says this is okay. You think I'm going to be talking about this and it's still top secret? I want to retire with that. Well, all they have to say is, it's still classified. It's done. Larry, well, he can say whatever he wants. He was out. You can't go after him. We'll just let him go because the Air Force way is when someone's talking about classified information, they don't confirm it, they'll deny it. They leave it alone. That's all true. That's how it works.
Okay, anybody else?
Colonel Holt said about a week ago, Colonel Holt said before he retired, he had to go to a meeting where they told him exactly what he could say about this and what he couldn't say about this. And that's where his position was.
Is there a document? Is there a document? I have a document that says that. I have.
He said when he retired, he was called to a meeting. But it was all discussed, the whole thing was discussed.
Well, Colonel Hall were at the Pentagon with intelligence or something back then, so I don't know. I have no idea. Because
he went out to Korea, didn't he, after 80 years? I think.
Did he go to Korea or did he go to Oklahoma?
I think he went out to Korea.
He left Ben Waters, okay, and the interesting thing at the same time when the story first broke in the 80s, I got transferred to Osan Air Force Base. Colonel Halt was the base commander, Kunsan, and General Williams was in charge of PACA. Go figure. Okay, and I got moved quick because when the story broke, they wanted me gone. And what I mean by gone is not to cover anything up, but if I'm in Korea, I don't know if anybody knows anything about Korea, but back then it was next to impossible to get in there. Okay, you can't get in media-wise. You had to get permission to even come into Korea. So we were all where we could be talking about it, okay? You're making statements about criminal houses or documents, there's this, there's that. And it's what he says, I says, and everyone else says, and there's clearly something that isn't right, okay? And that's how I take this. But ultimately, at the end of the day, the gentleman over this, we may never know for sure, okay? But I think we're getting closer because as Colonel Halt's retired and he's gotten older, he seems to be opening up more. We're trying to be honest, with everything that we've got. We've introduced the hypnosis, whether you like it or not. The codes are there. When they come out, look at them and verify if the codes are true and if they're right and see what they say and see how you feel about it. But ultimately, there's more stuff starting to come out, and I can't even explain it why. But I'm here because I want to know what happened. And I went back out there to try to figure some things out. And things don't add up to me either. There's things that I recognize or hear, or this doesn't look right, or we really couldn't be there, or it just doesn't seem like we could have been there to get from here to here to here that quick. Okay? But what I do know this is we would have followed it straight in, and we did have an encounter that I can't explain. And it gets weirder, not because we're trying to mislead you, lie to you, or misguide you. We're telling you what we know. If you don't like it, that's fair. You don't have to. But we're the ones that are living with it every day.
I want to say just one thing. I want Brenda to get some credit for all the work she's done in the past on this. Because if it hadn't been for Brenda and Dot down there, their investigation, their persistence, going down to the base, causing absolute hell and going on people like that. This would probably all got squashed a long, long time ago. Of course, Larry came out and did the same thing, so the thing had to come open. This is probably why it's there now. So I think on behalf of everybody, if we can all work together and try and come to a complete end ourselves, and thank you everybody for all you've put into it, and all what you've lost. I know Brenda went bankrupt as a consequence of this, maybe. And other people have lost a great deal for trying to pursue it. So, thank you everybody, and thank you for listening to me.
Okay, thanks. You've been a great audience, very attentive, some great questions, and we've had a fantastic panel. With so many great guest speakers, it's taken a long time, and thanks for being very patient. I'm assuming that anybody who wants to go on the forest walk, I'm assuming we're still going ahead with that, guys?
Well, I mean, depending on how many people show up, trying to do the forest, we have no problem with the skaters go in there. Yeah. Down that parking lot down there. So whenever you like to go down there, we go down there.
Okay.
Don't feel like we're not willing to answer questions. Go ahead. Thank you guys.
How you doing?
Okay. So anybody who is going down to the forest now, you need some good walking equipment, you need some warm clothing, hopefully a flashlight.